Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Slamhub Wrestling. Myself, Suprit, and this is your AEW Dynamite review for September 17th, 2021. I'm joined by Ridwan. And what's up, man? How you been?
I've been great, Suprit. How have you been?
Not good, man. Not good.
Yeah, you messed up the date actually. It's September 15th show.
It's September 15th.
Yep. The show is September 15th. We are recording on the 17th.
See, I'm not doing good.
Everything okay?
Yeah, it has to do majorly with the Suzuki incident. I'm still recovering from that. Other than that, I'm good.
Good to know. But yeah, we all are suffering from like the stigma that was the Suzuki incident. But slowly and steadily we'll find justice to it. So
I
here's to
think
hoping that.
Tony Khan learned a lesson from last week and he did us made up for all the mistake from last week and gave us something this week.
Yes, we'll talk about it. Let's just hold our horses for now.
But man, have you seen this card for next week's Grand Slam?
Yes, it's very much a pay-per-view. Like even Excalibur said it while he was running down the card, that it's pretty much like a pay-per-view because they're hosting it in a huge stadium and with the card that they're putting out, which again we'll talk about it. But man, next week is going to be an insane week for AEW. Like even Rampage is 2 hours, and Dynamite. Like we know that Dynamite is doing this Grand Slam, so it's going to be a fun week of wrestling.
I wonder if they could have done Rampage in a live edition next week.
I doubt they will do that because I mean you've got this huge ass crowd, probably around 25,000 people, and they would prefer taping it all in one go. And I don't think they had announced it beforehand that they are doing a Rampage, like they're doing a live Rampage in the same stadium. So chances, like there are high chances that it's going to be taped after Dynamite.
Why?
And now that
Because having a live edition Rampage would be not the same because you won't expect the same crowd.
yes, and like now that they have started taping Dark in Universal Studios, so that leaves a lot of time for them to do Rampage instead. And is Elevation still being taped after Dynamite, or?
I was just about to ask you, what's the status on Elevation? I think they could fill in an hour of Elevation, I guess.
Probably, but I think Elevation is also 2 hours, I guess.
I think now they are back to being 1 hour shows, both Dark and Elevation.
Because I remember like watching the episode where Luther was facing Lee Johnson, the one with James Darnell from. So like in that episode, I remember that episode being 2 hours long, but yeah, could be one, could be two. I don't really watch dark shows, but like unless there's something good happening, but let's see.
But should be good, man. Next week, if you are giving a pay-per-view level of television, should be good.
Free TV, no less.
See, but any update on the ratings for this Dynamite show?
Yes, today morning itself, it was around I think 1.17. Just hold on, though. I'll just confirm those. And apparently, like even this week, AEW beat Raw in the demographics.
But the problem was they beat by just a margin, I guess.
Yes, probably.
What's the overall ratings if you can find it?
Yes, it's 1.175 million.
So they are still hovering around the million mark.
Yes, and given next week's show, they'll probably do a bit more than that, around, I don't know, 1.3 something. Like I think we had 1.3 last week. What was it? when they like officially beat Raw in the demos, which led to Raw acting on impulse and giving us the moment that they did.
But yeah, it's good to know. At least now it is a normal thing that they are crossing the million mark.
Yes, I mean with the stars and the talent that they have, especially like the two notable ones in Punk and Bryan, those are like household names. So that's pulling in more viewers and it's working. So good to see that happen.
But what did you think about the quality of this week's show? I thought it was decent and it was enough for me. And they build, some excitement for their big show next week. So I was good with this one. What did you think about?
Me too. I felt the show was, I mean, it was great, but of course it could have been a lot better. But again, they're saving all that energy for next week, which I'm fine with. Like sometimes you got to balance those ebbs and flows in the quality of the show. I think this was it. It was like a go home show for next week's show eventually. So it worked for me.
But let's talk about the card. We had Adam Cole versus Frankie Kazarian, Jade Cargill versus Leyla Hirsch. We had Shawn Spears versus Darby Allin. And in the main event, we had 2.0 facing Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston and so much more. But before that, if you're new to Slamhub Wrestling, make sure to like, share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Check out our other content. Everything you need will be in the description below. But so they kicked off with CM Punk. Ridwan. So he's the guest commentator for this week's Dynamite for a while, I guess. So he came out, huge reaction, of course, and he did a stage dive. So this is being a normal thing for Punk, and this was a big one, brother. This was a big one, and gladly someone caught him, and you have to catch him because CM Punk should be protected at all costs.
All costs.
I loved it, man.
100%.
Brilliant
He's loving
stuff.
life. That's what he's loving life in AEW. Like every single week, or let's say like once in 2 weeks, he just jumps into crowds and just goes around meeting fans. And he even like took a picture with a Dusty cosplayer. So he's enjoying it thoroughly in AEW. And I was like watching his interview with Rene Paquette yesterday. On why did he choose to join AEW? And he's like, the answer is very simple. Would you look at both the companies and tell me? And like like he is justifying that answer of his. Like he's all over the show, enjoying meeting fans. It's like what he could have been enjoying, like instead of remorselessly beating down fans verbally, like what he used to do in WWE. But then this is just like a rehab version of that. Like he's enjoying life now, which is awesome, and it's good to see him happy.
It is. So this show is happening from New Jersey. I think I saw Grimm's Toy Show in the crowd.
Okay.
Do you know who that guy is?
I've heard of him. Like I don't remember how he looks like, but yeah.
Don't you remember the backyard wrestler / vlogger?
I mean, I haven't seen much of his content, but like I might have seen probably, he might have done a show for the Internet Darlings during the WrestleMania weekend, like on. They usually host this convention, right? The WrestleCon or something.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's a pretty hefty guy. You will remember if you watch him.
Yeah, he might have been there. Most of these wrestling YouTubers, they used to do a show called Internet Darlings. It was led by Brian Zane from Wrestling with Regret and Matthew of Botchamania. So they used to host these panels. I think I might have seen him over there, probably. But I don't exactly.
I think he technically got involved in the Malakai Cody Rhodes segment.
Probably. Like I'll have to check how he looks like so that it refreshes my memory.
But anyways, so Punk is on commentary. I think it is confirmed AEW has a fetish with a 4-man booth commentary team.
Yes, sometimes it gets overbearing, sometimes it works. In this case, it worked. On Rampage, like with Jericho yelling constantly, it doesn't. It does my head in. And I don't really rate Mark Henry as a commentator, but like it's still early days for him, so I'll just let that pass.
But we quickly transition to Adam Cole, baby, versus Frankie Kazarian. Of course, this is Adam Cole's in-ring debut here in AEW. Adam Cole has new ring gear.
Yes, he looked a bit like, I'm not trying to fat shame him, but like he was a lot leaner in WWE. Now I think he's put on a tiny bit of weight. But yes, a new
Does
ring
he?
gear too.
Was
Yeah,
it
he looks
that?
like a little bit.
Was it that, or was the jacket he was wearing a little much larger than usual?
No, I think like while he was wrestling also, he did look a little bit like he did put a tiny bit of it, but it's fine. It's just like normal what to expect and what not to. It's okay.
But I have to say, Adam Cole has a simple entrance, but it is very effective.
Yes. And I mean the crowd loves him. And throughout the match you could see like, what we usually describe as bizarro world, it was happening. Like Adam Cole was just cheered throughout, like 12,000 people just screaming his name with the bebe. And Frankie Kazarian was booed. So
Um,
yeah.
yeah, it's Frankie Kazarian. By the way, Justin Roberts gave him a new introduction. You know it, Frankie Kazarian, something like that.
No, yeah, I heard something else like a Dex thing, something Frankie Kazarian, and his name tag also showed like Elite Hunter Frankie Kazarian, but he like there was something else that Justin Roberts said.
But anyways, man, this match was good. Frankie Kazarian is a perfect opponent, just like we saw with Christian Cage. Really, you could say fun match for a AEW Dynamite. Nothing much. What you think about it?
Yeah, this match was simple, like simple, short and sweet is probably a good way to put it because the main objective was to get Adam Cole over. I mean, if he wasn't over enough already, and just to like get his name on the winning column. And like you mentioned, Frankie was like a good opponent for that, and it worked in that sense. Like, but the crowd was going radio rental for Adam Cole. Whatever he was doing, he was getting cheered, and Frankie was getting booed. And also shout out to Frankie for the red tights. Like as Excalibur mentioned, it was an homage to his former tag partner, Christopher Daniels. Where's CD been lately? Like he's nowhere to be seen after the SU breakup.
He's behind. I think he's doing backstage role, which he was doing from day one.
Yes, but even then, like usually see these pictures of backstage. He's still nowhere to be seen, and I think his only appearance since then was a red carpet of Stars, the TV show that CM Punk is doing.
Yes,
Sorry,
sir.
Heels is the show. It's on Stars Play, the platform. And he did an interview with Chris Van Vliet, and he was still having bloodshot eyes from the match with the Bucks. So
By
yeah,
the way,
that's the
I think I
last time.
saw a poster where he's wrestling on an indie show as well.
Is he?
Yes, sir.
I mean,
He's
good on
wrestling
him.
a certain big indie guy, but there you go, man. That's the update on Christopher Daniels. But this match here between Kazarian and Adam Cole really good. So let's talk some highlights here because they opened up really slow with a slow pace, where Adam Cole was about to start off the match with a big kick. Kazarian misses, and then Kazarian was trying to ground Adam Cole for a while, but it backfired. So, like I said, really slow pace from the get go. And when we get to the final parts, then the action really picked up because both men were, exchanging big moves. By the way, I have to give a big shout out to Kazarian for that leg drop. I have been loving that move for years now.
Yes, that leg drop looks sweet.
So he hit that big springboard leg drop. Let's get to the finish here. So Adam Cole he was looking for the Panama Sunrise, which Kazarian was able to counter for the first time around. So he went for that move again, where they were doing something on the apron. Cole got the Panama Sunrise, hit the last shot, and there you go, man. Adam Cole wins his debut match here in AEW, and nothing much. But we did have a post-match bit with Adam Cole. He got on the mic and he said, "Who's ready for story time with Adam Cole,
Story time with
baby?"
Adam Cole.
I think that's
Yeah.
a thing now with him when it comes to
Yes,
promos.
if they don't sell a T-shirt with that catchphrase, then I mean shame on AEW, because that's going to sell like hotcakes.
So he once again puts over the Elite as the dominant faction, and he says he has problems with certain AEW roster members, mainly Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Jungle Boy. So he was talking shit to all three guys, and he should challenge a trios match for. Is it Rampage? It has to be Rampage, right?
Rampage. Yeah, it is Rampage.
So this will be Adam Cole and the Young Bucks. The Super Click. They will be facing
Super.
Jurassic Express and Christian Cage in a trios match. So there you go, man. Should be good. And hands down, we will be seeing a big Jungle Boy Adam Cole match in the future.
Yes, probably or hopefully for Full Gear. But the Super Click is back, baby. So, I mean, excited to see this match happen, and also excited to see Super Click return. I mean, they were pretty dominant during Adam Cole's reign as ROH champion. So it's something to look forward to. And of course, like, they're building towards Adam Cole and Jungle Boy. If you notice Jungle Boy's promo to accept the challenge, which we'll get to. And I mean, there was like ticks all boxes of what they were trying to do with Adam Cole, and how is he, over with the fans and capitalizing on building something for next week. Thumbs up.
And you just mentioned the promo. So we would also hear from Jurassic Express and Christian Cage. Christian is basically, taking shots at Adam Cole, saying that he had to leave developmental to join his friends, something like that. And he was mentioning the Wednesday night wars, and now he won't fail in the Friday nights as well, something like that. Who wrote this promo?
Yes.
Vince?
I mean, it's Christian, so they have all the creative freedom on the mic, so it's pretty much them. So like this promo starts off with Jungle Boy. He's like, Adam Cole, you're insecure. I have like better friends than you. I have better hair than you. And then he was something, and then Christian is like, no, he does have better friends because his friends are EVPs, and they got his sorry ass out of developmental. And then he's like, we accept the challenge, and you might be used to losing the Wednesday night wars. Now get ready to lose the Friday night wars as well. So it's official for Rampage now that it's going to be a trios match. Excited.
Listen, man, Vince wrote this promo.
How do you say so?
This is Vinceism, when it comes to promos like this.
Yes, but I mean, we have to talk about some Vinceism over here, like, given what NXT is like after Adam Cole's left, like they've taken an entirely new direction, but I mean, it is an exciting time to be a wrestling fan nonetheless, like regardless of what AEW does and how NXT was recently.
Let's see, man. We will talk about NXT, but we had a promo from the Lucha Bros and the Butcher and Blade, which, to my knowledge, who are the #1 ranked team in AEW. So there you go. You were saying,
like they might. Yeah, like how they might have start padded a lot of wins on Dark and Elevation, which got them the title shot. Otherwise, like Butcher just returned like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
How does this make sense?
I don't know. Yeah, that's a fair point. They haven't been a tag team for months now. I
Yes,
think
that's
someone
what.
should research on that. But yeah, we had a package regarding this, and they are building towards this tag team title match. I think which we will see on this week's Rampage, right?
This week's Rampage, yes, tonight.
So yeah, man, there you go. Should be good, I guess. Butcher and Blade are very underrated tag team, if you ask me.
They really are. And Lucha Bros first title defense, you can let it pass by. And these guys are like a good tag team to start off with, because eventually the first title defense is often the ones where the champions always retain, and you want to make them look strong. So this is probably as good as it can get in that regard.
So we were just talking about how did Butcher and Blade quickly get number one in the rankings. We have a similar situation with Gun Club. So they had a promo where they were, kind of, stating the facts, where they said they are undefeated as trios and in tag team, whichever, version you want to, see. But yeah, they have this big win-loss record, mostly wins, and they have kind of also explained why they
All
attacked.
wins,
Yeah, they
all
kind of
wins, not just mostly wins.
they kind of explained why they attacked Paul White, saying that they wanted to make a statement, and there you go, man. They finally brought this on TV and they stated nothing but facts.
Yes, I mean, it makes up for a good delusional heel gimmick for Colton Gunn, especially. But it's a fair point. Like, how how did Butcher and Blade get a tag team title shot right away, and the Gun Club, who's been like undefeated throughout this year and the last year, still haven't gotten a fair shake of a title match. So probably they should just just go to Tony's office. They should just film a segment, go to Tony's office, and have Billy carry Tony by the collar, and while he blackmails them into getting a title shot. So
Nah,
they should
you can't do that.
yeah, but they should do something out of it. And like it's only fair that these guys get a title shot for being undefeated for far too long.
I think they should wait 9 days from now.
Okay.
Okay, but
9 days.
sticking to the tag team topic, we had FTR versus Dante Martin and Matt Sydal. Pretty weird tag team here with Dante Martin teaming with Matt Sydal.
Yeah, my best guess is Mike Sydal might have been injured, and of course, like they are kind of hinting towards a mentor-student relationship between Sydal and Dante. After, you remember the match that they had on Dynamite once.
Yes.
Since then, like they've been like an odd couple a little, and if I remember correctly, they've also been teaming up on Dark and Elevation for like semi regularly, if you will.
I
But
was
yeah,
thinking that not the Mike Sydal injury thing. I didn't go that way, but I was thinking
I was
that
guessing.
yeah, they did this pairing because FTR versus Sydal brothers has happened in the past, and I think in Tony Khan's mind, he didn't want to give this match again for some reason.
Probably. And like Dante's twin is also injured, I believe.
Yes, his tag team partner is injured, so that's why he's going singles as of now.
Yeah, it's an ACL injury, if I remember correctly.
But yeah, I don't know exactly. But this was a very fun tag match. They are still continuing to, you could say, hype up Dante Martin, and he's really turning out to be a breakout star, is he?
Yes. Like he's been given a lot more opportunities to get over. He even got a promo to show what Dante Martin is all about. And then like they are building towards that. Of course, like there is a story in itself where he'll just it will probably pay off 2 years down the line. So it's good to see that happen. And like FTR really worked us on their retirement, didn't they?
They sure did, brother.
Yeah, working the marks, brother.
But this was a really fun tag match. And I have to say, Matt Sydal is massively underrated.
Oh, hands down. Like even from his time in WWE as Evan Bourne, he was just a flippy dude who was like, happy to be there. But then, like, once he left WWE, after that, like, we could really see more of what he was capable of later on, like in PWG, New Japan. And after that, in Impact, he was doing that third eye gimmick, and now in AEW. I think in AEW, he should probably like be doing more, but if he's content with what he's doing right now, fair play.
So as we get to the final parts of this match, Dante Martin was really giving FTR a hard time because of this aerial maneuvers and stuff. But this caught up to Dante Martin because we were seeing a lot of transitions in the final parts, and FTR caught Dante Martin in the big rig, which was great. And there you go, FTR got a big win. Yes, you have to build up FTR again if you want them to be in contention for the tag titles. But
Yes,
nothing much.
I'm still used to calling it the Shatter Machine for some reason.
We have to call it the big rig, brother. We'll be being
Yes,
they will be doing a big show at Rochester in a couple of weeks.
yes, yeah. For that, yeah. When is that for?
I
I
think that
think
will
it's
be
around.
following the Arthur Ashe show.
Mm, Probably, yeah. End of September,
Maybe we could see
but
a big debut over there.
probably like they have been teasing it, and it's been like heavily speculated. I have my own thoughts on it, which I won't go through again. But yeah, regarding this match, and like this match was fun throughout. It was good to see like two high flyers versus two like tough and hard 1-for-1 tough and hard people. Like the main strategy was like grounding these high flyers who are like who use aerial maneuvers to their advantage. But Sydal is like an all-rounder because he can fly at the same time he can go like technical, like down to the ground, you could say. But I mean, less is to be said about how great FTR are. And also, I just want to point out, like earlier when they were running through the card, and when they mentioned like this match is going to happen for FTR, CM Punk was like marking out for an FTR match, which was like great to see. And it puts FTR on a pedestal if they weren't like a great enough tag team already. And like this match was to another way to put a spotlight on Dante Martin. Like he was using these evasive maneuvers to like counter FTR's ground style, and he was just caught by surprise with the big rig, and FTR pick up the win. And it's to build up FTR for something that we'll again talk about later. And it's always great to see FTR win. And I hope they get the tag title shots like probably around
Currently, they
full
are
gear. Or
currently the two teams we were speculating who could be getting title shots in the coming days. Both those teams are ranked 4 and 5. That is PNPA and FTR.
that's still pretty low. And if you remember, like even during the match they were ranked around the same standings. It's still pretty weird that they couldn't rank higher up the card, and you have Butcher and Blade getting a title shot. And it's not a knock on Butcher and Blade, but gotta put like two and two together to see what's going on really.
But speaking about Butcher and Blade, their boss Matt Hardy had something to say about Orange Cassidy. Nothing much. We are mainly getting that hair versus hair match. I don't know when they do it. Maybe on a random Dynamite, that would be fine. On a pay-per-view, I don't know.
The next pay-per-view is not until November, so they can probably finish it off within these next few weeks at any other special Dynamite episode that they do, and just get away with it. And Matt Hardy called OC like an orange egghead.
Which didn't get a pop from me.
Yeah, it probably like if he was cutting a live promo, even they would have cringed hard like we did.
But
But yeah, I don't think Matt Hardy is getting his head shaved. Neither is Orange Cassidy. And if Matt Hardy is losing this, then what do you say? One of his stablemates will, which most likely looks to be Butcher, because he's going through a hair loss.
makes sense. It makes sense. But shall we talk about Malakai Black?
Yes.
This was, you could say, impromptu segment. It came out of nowhere. He made his great entrance, and then he got the mic and he addressed there is someone in the crowd, and it is the judge of the Go Home Big Show, which and her name is
Rosario Dawson.
She was in the crowd wearing a Nightmare Family, I don't know, jacket. And Malakai decided to go face to face with her. Then we see in the crowd, it was Cody Rhodes. He was coming out of the crowd, and Malakai Black, got distracted. So, what's her name again?
Rosario Dawson.
Oh,
Sorry.
man. She decided to, attack Malakai Black. By the way, CM Punk is marking out for, Miss Dawson here, which I loved.
Yes.
So Malakai Black is being attacked. Cody Rhodes, finally shows up, and we see a big brawl. They fight on the crowd, and this is the segment I was talking about where you would see Grimm's Toy Show getting involved.
Was it the part where there was a fan that was attacking Malakai
Yes,
Black when Cody
that
was
is the
punching
guy.
him?
That is Grimm.
Okay. Yeah, now I remember him. Now I do. But I mean, Rosario Dawson's involvement was so very random, and she has been prominent in few shows here and there on TV. But she was just there, and we have a problem. Malakai is we have a problem, and then the crowd pans to Rosario, and Malakai is going face to face with her, and then Cody shows up.
Okay.
What the fuck's going on?
From when the entrance was great. You had created an ambience, good. Then you go to this stuff, then and I'm like, oh, please don't get Malakai Black in certain situation.
Yes, and all signs do point towards Malakai losing next week, which is going to be cataclysmic on the internet. Everyone's going to burn down AEW if it happens. I mean, I wouldn't do that, but I sincerely hope Malakai wins to build his momentum, keep his momentum going, I should say.
He has to go over next week. If he takes L now, it's going to hurt him.
He's fucked. No, he's not fucked, but the 50-50 booking does favors for no one. And given how strong he's been, he's been very dominant and imposing on guys like Lee Johnson and Brock Anderson. Even Dustin took him to the limit, but still Malakai was on top. He was dominating most of the match, and he even dominated Cody for fuck's sake, in the first match. So just keep that momentum going, have him win, and move on to bigger and better things.
But this segment,
or if Cody wins,
it really didn't come off well, I guess. Could have done it in a different way if you wanted Cody to get involved.
Yeah, but if you want to do it in a different way, Cody would have had those pomp and circumstance, like the prelude and then adrenaline in my soul with the pyros. That would be his grand return if you want to do it differently. In that case, I'd say this was okay, but this one didn't do any favors for me, and I'm not really looking forward to their match next week. If for my fears alone, the Malakai losing.
Speaking about looking forward to, we had a package for the Bunny versus Anna Jay, which we will be seeing this week on Rampage. And then we cut to,
probably the main event. It's probably the main event for this week, or it's going to be something else.
Wait, Anna Jay versus Bunny is the main event for Rampage?
Probably. I mean, could happen.
I should go on a vacation this week,
I guess.
But
there was more story about this. Yeah, I was just leading into. Unless you wanna add something.
You want to continue that segment where we also hear.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Anna J. Why I'm saying Ty?
Mhm. Yeah, but there was Ty as well. So there was one moment in this segment, like before Anna J starts talking, there's John Silver who's doing these pumps, and Ty is just looking at him, and then he's like, fuck this guy. And then Anna J was like cutting a promo, like she's so excited to have a singles match on like a show like Rampage. And then Evil Uno, like they are continuing the Dark Order story of Evil Uno still calling himself a leader, and then Alex Reynolds shows up. He's like, "I'm here to support Anna Jay and not give into your bullshit." And then Five comes in and says like Uno's been a tyrant, and then everyone's fighting among themselves, and then Anna Jay is like, "If you guys still fight, I don't want any of you guys around." And then John is like, "What about me?" And then she's like, "No." And then TJ leave together. So there you go. That was the segment. And if the rumors are true that a certain someone is debuting as speculated as the leader of Dark Order, man, it's going to suck. But what I hope and what I want to happen is Hangman to return and make things right with them so that things get better. Because like we mentioned earlier, like we mentioned in the previous episodes, like Hangman was kind of the uniting factor, and the Dark Order was like giving all the support to him, in his quest to become champion. And once he's gone, like everything's fallen apart. So I hope it's Hangman and not the speculated person.
But still, it's very intriguing.
Yeah. And where do they it remains to be seen where do they take it from here? It's hoping it's Hangman and not the other person.
A lot of possibilities over there, but we'll have to wait and see. We had a package for Lance Archer and Minoru Suzuki. They're talking about their history, and Lance Archer said that he's still in Suzuki-gun. Suzuki said Suzuki-gun Ichiban, number
Ichiban.
one. And yeah, that's basically it. CM Punk,
Before,
also gave his
yeah.
thoughts on the Suzuki incident with a straight face. And I'm like, I love this guy, man. This is great.
Yeah, he was the one. I think he was the first person who mentioned the Suzuki incident on Twitter, like among the wrestlers. And then, like AEW put out a tweet hyping the main event between Mox and Kingston versus 2.0. And then after the Suzuki incident, Mox and Kingston go one-on-one, go like compete in a tag team with 2.0 or something like that. They said. So like that's when the Suzuki incident officially became canon. Like wow. And shout out to CM Punk, like that was like hilarious, and you could see Excalibur trying not to laugh at that. Like he was just smiling at first, and then he just kept a straight face throughout. But shit was hilarious, this whole Suzuki incident thing. And man, they should do a segment on being the elite where they like do a dark side of the ring style bit about this Suzuki incident, and they have to do it, man. Come on.
We'll have to wait and see. By the way, Dark Side of the Ring is finally here. Another season.
Yes, it's not. I mean, it's the continuation of the current season that was going on. So it was in two parts. The first part was finished, I think, around July, and this is the second. This is the second part of it, and there are like a lot of good episodes coming out this time around. You have like the one they just did a premiere of Plane Ride from Hell, and like I haven't seen the episode yet. I'll watch it probably today, tomorrow. And of course, there's one about Chris Canyon that I'm interested to know what led to circumstances around him. And there's one about Luna Vachon, and there is
FMW.
about this FMW. Yes, I want. There's another some Romanian wrestler who was involved in a murder.
But yeah, man, that is the entire season of Dark Side of the Ring. But speaking about Dark Side of the Ring, we had MJF. He
I knew
was
you would go
back
there.
again. He was back again. And he's really going, hard, shitting on the New Jersey faithfuls here, and he decided to talk about not Brian Pillman Jr. but Brian Pillman Senior. So what he does, he looks at the top, then he quickly transitions and looks down, and he's talking shit to Pillman Senior here, and kind of shits on him for him and Metheny for bringing in Brian Pillman Jr., this low grade, second grade, whatever you call it, wrestler. But here comes Brian Pillman Jr. again. And yeah, we basically saw the same segment from last week where, Wardlow gets involved. But this time, Pillman Jr. didn't come out from the entranceway. He came out from the, from MJF's back while, Wardlow was kind of guarding the entranceway. So he had a steel chair in hand. MJF is begging and pleading. And then we saw Wardlow get involved as MJF escapes. We see a little face to face with Pillman Jr. and Wardlow. And yeah, I think there was something going on with Wardlow and Pillman Jr. And that's how the segment ends. And yeah, this is building towards the big match at Arthur Ashe. Should be good.
Should be great. And they've invested a lot in Pillman Jr. from last week to now. And from the crowd, from MJF talking him and his family down in Cincinnati, no less. And then Brian Pillman Jr. That really got Brian Pillman Jr. over. And the crowd was going bananas over whatever he was saying. And then they capitalized on that build on Rampage when he defeated Max Caster. And they had another Cincinnati hero, John Moxley, save him after a beatdown by the Acclaimed. And over here, so they've really made a star out of Brian Pillman Jr. in such a short time, and they'll capitalize on that by having this match at Arthur Ashe and in front of 20 to 25,000 people just going crazy over this white meat baby face over this dastardly heel MJF. And after this promo, and also before I go to that, MJF called him crying Brian, which I thought was hilarious. And there was a sign of MJF you tapped out, and it's a picture of MJF as a 5-year-old when he appeared on the Rosie O'Donnell show.
Oh, great, man!
Singing the "You Are My Sunshine" thing. And after that, there's just after this segment, there was a backstage, not a backstage interview, it was a pre-recorded interview of JR and sit down interview. Thank you. It was a sit down interview of JR and Pillman Jr. where JR is he's talked you and your family down, and I know you've been disappointed with the way you were beaten up last week, but you have to whoop his ass, and you need to promise that. And then Pillman Jr. cuts this very white meat babyface promo. Is you had a silver spoon. I had to. My upbringing wasn't as grand, and I'll show you how was I brought up when I beat your ass down. And then a typical working class promo. I had to fight through hardships. This is where I got because of my problems, and now here I am standing strong. So. It's a clear-cut heel versus face thing lower down the card, and it's working on all fronts for both Pillman Jr. and massive credits to MJF for he was leading into the Pillman chants, and he's really putting Brian Pillman over, Pillman Jr. I should say, in these through these promos, and this match is going to be good enough.
Another thing I forgot to mention last week is that remember that face-off between Pillman Jr. and MJF? It kind of felt very old school to me.
Yes, and given the dynamics of this feud that is going on, a clear-cut babyface and a clear-cut heel, it is very old school. And this promo by Pillman Jr. during the sit-down with JR, that really explains it.
And by the way, Brian Pillman Jr.'s mullet is OP.
Yes, it's class. Pillman Senior didn't have one, and that's as old school as it gets. And even the Varsity Blondes gimmick itself is quite old school. So he's like tickling somewhere. Jim Cornette must be in love.
He loves them.
No, he does. He really does. And I mean, it's obviously by good enough.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
on them.
But uh, I think we were supposed to get this. Yeah, we did have this Jade Cargill versus Leyla Hirsch match. Kind of showed what's going on with these two. They kind of had a mini feud which started at the Casino Battle Royal. They had some interaction in AEW Dark, I guess, and there you go. That's the story. And Leyla Hirsch is technically from New Jersey right now.
Yes, she was adopted from she was originally, I was going to say biologically, but yeah, she was originally Russian, and she was adopted by an American couple, her and I mean she and her sister, and they were brought to US at the age of 8, and they've been brought up in New Jersey itself.
But yeah, so Jade Cargill was accompanied by her manager, Mean Mark Callis. Wait, not Mean Mark Callis.
Smart Mark
Yes, yes. Oh my
Smart
God.
Mark Sterling.
Yes.
Mean Mark Callis. Somewhere Mean Mark Callis would be judging on video games and podcasts.
But yeah, that was the match. The match I think was fine because Leyla Hirsch could, really. I think that Mean Mark has really popped in.
Yes, Mean Mark
Oh
Callis.
my.
I mean, if we are ever selling merch, we should probably do Smart Mark Sterling's face with the cowboy hat and just write Mean Mark Callis.
But about the match, yeah, the match was fine, I guess. Leyla Hirsch was leading everything here. Jade Cargill still is green, but she looks like a star. So
yes, I mean, Leyla, shout out to Leyla Hirsch, and she's a trooper, totally carrying Jade Cargill through a match. And from the get-go, I mean, this is how you would book it pretty effectively, like a tall versus little, like David versus Goliath. I don't know how would I describe in a female case, but I digress. So Leyla Hirsch was on offense for the most part until the ad break, where Jade Cargill, she was just dominating Leyla. And even outside the ring, there was this one cool move where she did a suplex on Leyla and then just did a kip up. That was impressive. And then yeah, Jade Cargill, she's very green and it's understandable. I don't think this match had to go as long as it did, because I mean the ad break extended it to a certain point, which I think they should have trimmed it down a little. But it worked in the story of Leyla Hirsch. Like if you had seen the road to for this episode, Road to Dynamite, in that Leyla Hirsch explicitly mentioned that she needs to just prolong this match to take Jade out of the equation, because she can't wrestle properly. And so yeah, and after that Jade gives in a pump kick to Leyla, and then just put her in a Jaded for slammed her with a Jaded for the win. So there was another highlight of she was trying to go for a German on Jade, which looked impressive the way she executed it. And I think it was CM Punk who called it a Russian suplex.
Then all the commentators were naming different names for that suplex.
Yeah, and then the tope suicida, and there was another highlight of she goes for a cross arm breaker on Jade, and then CM Punk is like, "Oh, come on, Excalibur! I thought you were going to say Juji Kitami. That's the move. That's the name of the move in Japan." So that
Punk should do commentary, I guess.
Yeah, he should do commentary more often, which is always great to see. I mean, even in when he was doing commentary for WWE back then, during his injury period, or there was that one episode where he did NXT, and there was a brief period where, excuse me, he was on commentary with Jerry Lawler and heel Michael Cole. At that time also, his commentary was pretty solid. I think he was the one who called the match where Miz wins the WWE Championship for the first time.
Yeah, this is pre-Nexus, I guess. New Nexus.
Yeah,
Sorry.
pre New Nexus Punk. Like after he left the commentary table, like he recovered from his injury and then he led the New Nexus. That's like images that were easily forgotten types. Like you completely forgot that it had happened at one point.
But this is a situation where everyone can join the AEW commentary team, because there are so many great guys you could fill in there.
Yeah, and they have been, like Jericho has been doing, but like if you notice, whenever Jericho was doing the guest commentary bits, he was like annoying, but sometimes it worked. Like, for example, I'd say when during Brody's tribute episode that they did, Jericho was on commentary. He was yelling, but it was entertaining. But like at Rampage, it's just gotten overbearing to an extent.
But yeah, man, that is regarding the commentary team. Any final thoughts on Jade Cargill? Her presentation so far after that Shaq
Her
match we
presentation
had?
after the what?
The Shaq match where she
Shaq
made the
match.
debut.
Okay.
Until then, those
Yes.
time period, what do you think about how they have presented Jade Cargill so far?
They've done a good job of keeping her strong. Like even in her name tag, it was mentioned like Jade Cargill like has won 8 straight matches in 2 minutes or less, and it works for her. Like she's kind of the female Goldberg over here, just building up on undefeated streaks, not going for a long match, and dominating her opponents. So in that case, they've done well, and she looks like a star. Look at her. She's like, if someone had said it, like if wrestling was based on looks, and if you want to make world champion based on looks, I think Jade Cargill could be that. And like I mean this in a positive way though, and like she looks like a star. Like she looks very marketable as well. So if the more she improves, and if they go all in on her, pardon the pun, could do good business for AEW as
What are the
a star
chances
attraction.
she gets a title shot by the end of this year? She has to get one, right?
Yeah, she should. Her like her win loss record is pretty strong. So they would probably build more on that. She'd probably start pad it over like these, with all due respect, enhancement talents. And the more she picks up victories, the more she's in line for a title shot. But that also remains to be seen, that who will be the champion when she eventually receives it, because there are some possibilities of the title going here and there.
But there you go. But moving on, we had Dan Lambert, and I really got a pop from seeing his graphic where he had a sad face, which was great. So Dan Lambert is here is with American Top Team, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, that's his team, gym, stable, whatever you want to call it. And there is a certain person in the American Top Team this week, and she was like all over. She was just happy to be there. Like even when they were talking, like these guys were talking shit, she was just smiling. She was just calling, "Come on!" And then she was just waving to the crowd.
Was that
Paige Van Zandt.
Was that Paige Van Zandt?
Yes, it is Paige Van Zandt.
Oh yes.
Like,
yes. I'm not a big MMA guy, but I was still able to recognize a scene or somewhere.
yes.
But
she's pretty prominent on the internet for a lot of wrong reasons, but that's a topic for another time.
Okay, brother. Okay, but yeah, he is with American Top Team and Men of the Year. Are they also in the American Top Team?
Yep, that's like if you watched Impact back then, like in 2017, there was one person in the American Top Team was a thing then, like pretty prominent, because Lashley was also part of American Top Team. He was a pretty prominent figure, and he used to be accompanied by all these MMA guys. And there was like a very random person who was a part of it too, which was, if you know this guy, KM, back in Impact.
KM, that is, I heard of
He
that
was like, he's a New York guy, like just a
guy
with a mohawk.
Yeah, I know. He works the Indies right now.
Yes, He was a partner of the Falaba in Impact at one point.
Yeah, I recognize that guy. Now you said
Yeah,
it, I
so
recognize
he
it.
was also he was part of the American top team back then when they were a thing in Impact Wrestling, and seeing Paige and Scorpio Sky part of American top team feels the same way because it's like so random. Like Dan Lambert as a manager alone would work, but again he has to bring his guys in to plug American top team, so it's just a make do of that.
So is doing the same year, running down the AEW fan base, is comparing the time that there was a time where people used to go out, buy wrestlers merch, and nowadays it says a lot about the guys who are buying the merch, and it's running down the wrestlers who are 5'8", etc., etc. Then we get
I
to
was part, yeah, he's like, he mentions it. There are like wrestlers who are 5'8" who are jumping, climbing at the top of the cage, doing a double moonsault and falling to their lives. I was wondering, is he talking about Ricochet or someone?
a lot of guys in AEW could be pointing towards to.
But the double moonsault is like, and falling and doing like, crazy shit just for the sake of it. It really reeks of Ricochet.
But yeah, he's running down everyone here. And then we hear Chris Jericho's music. He's back after a week of absence. So Jericho comes out with Hager, crowd is singing Judas, and midway, Dan Lambert interrupts and says, cut off the music. And yeah,
Cut
there
off the
you go.
shit.
And
There was a lot of shit in this promo.
yeah, Dan Lambert is in fiery mode this week.
Yeah, and like this promo, if you want to describe, like, not if you want to describe it, but like throughout this promo, everyone was just talking shit and just literally saying shit in every single sentence. It was just about shit, this promo.
So can you run through what Jericho said here regarding Dan Lambert?
Yes. And so basically, like Jericho and Hager come out, and like the crowd is singing Judas, and then Dan Lambert is like, turn the shit down, and then the crowd just keeps keeps singing Judas, so infuriating the heel. Works that way. And then Jericho sings like, he's like, I don't know what your song is, but it's like, it goes like this, like fat face dipshit. He said it in a pretty different rhythm. I don't remember at this point. And then Dan Lambert like, is just going bananas over there. And then he just chides the crowd, like bringing them down, saying like, you guys are just a bunch of marks who are like, buying merch from their allowance that your parents give you. And then he's just like fat shaming and height shaming people again. And then Jericho is like, I see a lot of men over there, but who's on top? So there's probably a homophobic joke in that case. And the crowd chants on top, who's on top? And then these guys are like trading blows. And then Jericho is like, he says something like, if it was about, like, I've been with a lot of MMA guys, I've been in a fight with them, and they haven't done anything to me, and probably your guys won't do anything to me either. And
Did
if
he
there's
mention?
anything,
Was he mentioning Brock Lesnar
yeah, he did, like a
and
certain beast 5 years ago.
Bill Goldberg?
But he mentioned someone MMA, like it didn't really click me that he was talking about Bill Goldberg. But and then he's like, the best thing I can do is punch in their faces the same way I'm going to punch your chipmunk buck teeth out of your mouth. And then the crowd, the camera just zooms into Dan Lambert's teeth. So that was pretty hilarious. And then Jericho and Hager issue a challenge to American top team, saying like, both of us can kick your ass. And then he also mentions Hager's undefeated streak in MMA. And they put on a challenge for next week's Grand Slam edition.
Dynamite.
And let me get to it. So then Dan Lambert is like, if not, like, none of my MMA guys, but I know two real men who will fight you, and that's Paige and Scorpio Sky. So it's a match now. It's official for next week's Rampage
Oh.
Grand Slam.
Of course. Yeah, that does make sense. But this whole segment came off and it was just there, I guess, because you are building
I mean,
towards a random match.
yes, but Dan Lambert was amazing in this promo, like he often is. And Jericho, I think, came off a little try hard, but it's just Jericho. He just yells nowadays, and I have a bad feeling about this.
This match.
Yes, I
Um,
don't know. Like, I don't know if this is a thing, but like, given this is like Dan Lambert's American top team is like about shoot fighters. Hager himself is an MMA guy, so I have a bad feeling that Hager might turn heel on Jericho and join American top team. I am not sure if he's training with them already, training with the American top team, that is, but there is a possibility that it could happen. That Hager might go to another team and do it, which I hope doesn't happen, but I don't know. I have a bad feeling about this.
uh, Now that you have said it, it's going to definitely happen.
I mean, probably, but like there, it is possible given like the instances involved, and the match itself is quite random. So it only makes. I'm not sure if it even makes sense that way, but probably like given like MMA shoot fighting, Hager undefeated MMA guy, it could happen.
And this segment with Dan Lambert, his promos are usually great, but when it
I
comes
thought
to
this
the
promo
end,
was pretty good.
yeah, when it comes to the end, it doesn't really feel that impactful. Like, that's it.
Yeah, probably. Is it because the man of the year are involved? I mean, it's an odd couple as it is.
I don't know, man. We'll have to wait and see. So this is for Rampage, right?
They set for next week's Rampage Grand Slam. So you have a trios match, but yeah, and you also have a tag match. But we'll run down the card eventually before the main event.
So up next, we heard from Andrade. He talks about his big match from back that happened last week on Rampage, which was great. So he talks about that and mentioned a incident with Chavo Guerrero getting involved, and he's just messing around with assistant Jose. He talks about what happened here. He said Chavo Guerrero got involved and what happened over there, and Andrade goes on to say is that Chavo Guerrero he's not the boss. I am the boss. And yeah, there you go. That's how he ends the promo. And really confusing with this Chavo Guerrero being taken out of the equation. Many people speculate that this is, setting things for the arrival of the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. So yeah,
Pretty ill-timed if we speak of it right now. Because I mean, okay, so to run down this promo, it's just a normal Andrade hype vignette where he's just calling himself like he would have beaten Park on his own. There was no need of Chavo Guerrero to get involved. And then he beats his assistant, like he grabs his assistant Jose by the collar, who I thought was the booker of AAA. Or is he? Is he not?
was it you that
But
said that he books AAA?
I don't know if I think it was like we might have discussed this or it was doing the rounds on the internet, but not sure. And then he's like, Chavo asked me to get involved, blah blah blah. And then he's like, Chavo isn't the boss, I am the boss. And then he ends his promo. He just calls himself the Kingpin, which is wow. It's a pretty solid name, a solid nickname, I
I
should say.
wonder
And
who
this
has
was
a
all
kingpin nickname these days.
these days. I remember it was Moxley's nickname back in 2016 when he was WWE champion, and Mauro Ranallo used to call him the Kingpin.
Or
Who is
maybe
it
a
nowadays,
certain
though?
IWGP World Champion, I guess.
Okada?
Arey, Okada is IW World
Takagi?
Champion. Come on, man.
Shingo or Osprey?
Yep, he's the Commonwealth Kingpin.
Okay, I didn't know. I didn't know he was called that. I don't know
Yeah,
how.
that is his current gimmick now. He shits on people. But
Yeah,
with this Andrade
and
situation, I think the Ric Flair option could be a thing. Or let you give me a reminder when Dragon Lee and Rush's ROH contracts come up. Okay.
yeah, But this Ric Flair thing is pretty ill-timed, if you ask me, because this was like having Chavo exited, which I felt bad. Like I didn't want. I hoped this pairing would go in the long run because I really like Chavo Guerrero, and I was like intrigued to see him in a managerial role, how well he would have done. But like this was clearly a sign, him dumping Chavo to get Ric Flair into the equation. But now, after the latest Dark Side of the Ring episode for the plane ride from hell, like if you check your Twitter feed right now, everyone's been like, Ric Flair's sexual assault charges during the plane ride from hell. So there is probably like it's pretty ill-timed, and it would be very tone deaf of AEW to involve Ric Flair if after this episode is aired.
Oh, I didn't know about that. Maybe I'll have to check that episode. But let's wait and see where this goes with Andrade and who's coming in or not. But
Chavo, it's pretty ill-timed, and I hope like they retcon the whole thing and have Chavo return.
But CM Punk on commentary was, getting his thoughts on both Andrade and Pac, how great they are, etc., etc. And out of nowhere,
That was great to see. It was great to see that like both are. Sorry, before I enter, like it's like both are pretty bulky guys, but they can fly around, and that's the power of AEW. And he was like really putting these guys over, which was lovely.
And while he was saying these things about Pac and Andrade, Tazz shows up, goes face to face with Punk, saying, "Now you want to take my job," Tazz said. Then Punk had heard enough, he goes face to face with Tazz. And this was kind of a trap for Punk. And then we see Hook, come face to face with Punk, the greatest, face to face since Rock and Austin. Lovely to see. Then I talked about this trap. Powerhouse Hobbs, blindside attacks Punk. So Punk tried to fight back, but then he gets trapped in the most devastating dragon sleeper in the business right now, courtesy of Hook. So Punk is laid out, and then Hook decides to, threaten grown-ass men on commentary team, that is Excalibur, Shivani, and JR. They all escape. They don't want to mess with Hook. So he clears the announce table. Powerhouse Hobbs, he slams Punk on this announcer's table, but the table did break because I am the table. That's how this went off the end.
Yes. So we are getting a match it's official now. We are getting a match on next week's Rampage again. That's CM Punk versus Powerhouse Hobbs. I like the fact that they put this on Rampage instead of Dynamite, because the Dynamite card is stacked enough already. And they are like, it puts Hobbs over in a huge way, because he's going against CM Punk. And Punk is going to make, like, Hobbs is going to look like a star regardless if he wins or loses, and Punk is like the exact person to lead him to that path. And sign me up. I love Team Tazz, and I love CM Punk, so it's like it ticks on all boxes for me. And Hook is also like coming out of his own. And if you notice, if you saw the match, if you saw the graphics for CM Punk versus Hobbs, there was Hook also in his ring gear, like trying to fight CM Punk. So that is a future match that could happen, CM Punk versus Hook. But I'm more interested in CM Punk versus Ricky Starks, largely because of the promos. But and again, like we didn't really see anything for Starks and Brian Cage on.
I was about to ask you, what is going on with Ricky Starks and Brian Cage? I think the last I checked, they were still building towards this final match, this quote-unquote final match. And I've been waiting for 2 weeks and it's not happening. What's happening?
No, they only ran the promo last week, if I remember correctly. But again, like, just end this over with, because there is a bigger fish to fry for Ricky Starks with CM Punk.
And did you hear this statement from, before I say this, you wanted to add something?
No, I don't.
So what was I saying was, did you hear the statement from Ricky Starks? Who was talking about CM Punk and said that CM Punk is very approachable backstage, etc., etc., really putting Punk over. So there you go. I want to get that out of the way.
Like, did he say it on an interview or something?
Yeah, it was a random interview we did a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean that's cool, and I really want to see a promo of between CM Punk and Ricky Starks. So I hope I get that soon enough. Like, just keep Cage at the back burner for now because CM Punk is like a bigger deal, and I want to see Ricky Starks become a star. So it works for me in that case.
Let's see how this Hobbs and Punk match turns out.
Yes, I have my concerns on that too, a little bit, because
Because
Hobbs is good. He's come a long way, you could say, and like, he's improving every single time. And CM Punk is like someone like, his match with Darby was great, but I mean, part of it was like, him getting his ring rust out, and Darby was kind of guiding him through, because like initially Punk was just gassed in the early goings, but I mean, it worked in the story of Punk. At the same time, like, it's Punk's like, shoot shoot first match in like 7 years, so he's also like getting adjusted to that. So I'm a little concerned in that aspect, but I'm looking forward to this match largely because of my love for both of these parties, Team Taz and CM Punk.
should be good, man. Should be good. But moving on, we had a Shawn Spears versus Darby Allin match. Before this, really good promo package from Shawn Spears talking about Allin, and they also mentioned the history of when the last time they met 1-on-1. Spears actually beat Darby Allin, and this happened in 2019, the early days of AEW. So this match was really good. What you think about it?
It was, yeah, this match was really really good, and I unapologetic. I am an unapologetic fan of Sean Spears. I think he's really good. He's someone who deserves a bit more love from the wrestling community. And this match, like, it worked for both of these parties. As like, he's been like upping his game since his match with Sammy. Like, he was booked like super strong just for Sammy to beat the odds, and then since then, like, that trios match last week, and even like this match with Darby Allin, like, he was firing on all shots, and he was like dominating most of the match. And so that leaves the window open for Darby Allin to do his big babyface comeback. And then he was just like, he was just flipping the bird on Sting, and then he was trying to run his knee into Darby's face on the steel steps. So that that unfortunately didn't happen, and there was one backflip bump that Darby Allin took on the apron, which looked gnarly. I hope he's okay, but it's Darby Allin. And the main highlight of this was also, like, Spears wiping off Darby's face paint, because that face paint gives Darby Allin an identity as he's like half dead. And
I
there was
first
one
thought
chant of,
I first thought it was chloroform for some reason.
yeah, me too. Like, I read the tweets about this match in the morning before I went for work. And then he's like, oh my God, Sean Spears with the chloroform. He's like the most based wrestler alive. And then he's just wiping off Darby's face paint. And it was weird to see Darby wrestling with a normal face, like without his face paint a little. Like, he only had it around his eyes. And then there was a chant of fuck him up, Darby, fuck him up, when he was on offense. And the suicide dive that Darby Allin did on Sean Spears. And like, okay, so sorry, I might jump the gun a little bit. So Sean Spears was going for a C4 on the steps, but then Darby, like, on the apron, he just hits him with the stun dog millionaire. So that puts Spears on the steps. And then Darby goes for that suicide dive, which is, like, he has the best suicide dive in the business, hands down. I can't
Like
think of
he
anyone
really
better.
went for it.
Yeah, he just like straight up shoots shoots on them like a cannon, and then he just yeah.
And then he
You're
goes
saying?
for the coffin drop, and that was the finish.
Yes. So he
Sean's,
puts
you said it, you were on point when you said, Sean Spears deserves a lot more love from the IWC.
yes. Like people mainly remember him. Like even when he was Ty Dillinger in NXT, he was still like shown a lot of love. But that was like just the NXT crowd. They just love anything that they put out. Like even someone like Rick Boogs, he was wrestling his first match. He was over like Rover. But this one, Sean Spears as Ty Dillinger, he was like super popular back then, and then he got his huge entrance on as number 10 in the Royal Rumble, like the 10 gimmick. So it worked in that sense. After that, like it was a slippery slope. And then he was on the main roster, and then they tried something with R-Truth they were doing, and then that also went nowhere. And then he got injured, and they released him after, which I thought that he deserved a lot better in WWE. But I'm glad to see him getting a good run in AEW. Like even if he's not meant to be a champion, and it sounds harsh, but again, like it's okay with whatever he's doing. He'll eventually get a tag title run with Wardlow or a TNT title run by himself as like a good thank you note from any wrestling. But I think he's good the way the good wherever he is at this current point, and he's never looked better in the current spot that he's in with the Pinnacle, and he does deserve a lot of love from the wrestling community. I hope like this is a start of a renewed interest in him, and like there should be a lot. He should like he's doing well for himself, and I think he'll only go up from here.
And I really love that they are really trying to build back these Pinnacle members, all of them.
Yes. Yeah, all of them, yeah, lost their respective matches to their inner circle counterparts, and from there now the current spot that they're in, everyone's getting built up to look great. And I have a feeling that this feud that is happening currently between Darby, Sting, and the Pinnacle members, it's going to eventually lead to MJF versus Darby, which is going to be great.
We'll get to that, but where as after Darby finally beats Spears, so we see FTR. They out of nowhere show up in the ring, go face to face with Allin and Sting. By the way, before I talk about the segment, did you notice the part where JR was talking about the chain that Darby Allin wears?
Yes,
He
he's
said
like
that
it's
it's
permanent.
it's a fixed deal, not a removable thing.
I don't think that's true though. Like there is something that he might like. What if he does like a basic things like sleeping, showering? He has to take that chain off.
I really bought into that deal. JR really sold me on that one.
Yes, it could just be kayfabe, and if it's kayfabe, then fair enough.
But we're talking about FTR, so we see a big brawl. Sting is really hammering into one of the FTR members, and then we see Tully Blanchard. He causes some distraction, and FTR really going hard. They are really beating the shit out of Sting.
All day, all night. All my proud Southern people will be ready to fight. Say
Oh
yeah.
man, oh man. So this was a 3-on-2 situation. They have gotten rid of Darby Allin. So we see a spike pile driver on Sting, which came out really big because of the neck issue and all. Then Tully
Spinal
Blanchard.
stenosis.
Yeah, you were saying?
Yeah, like Sting has had a history of spinal stenosis thanks to his bump. I mean, thanks to his injury by Seth Rollins. So it was a big deal. They really sold it off well, and JR really put it over like that it came off pretty clean the way they executed it. So shout out to that.
And Tully Blanchard proceeds to do the same thing what Shawn Spears did with Darby Allin. So it takes this wetted cloth and wipes the paint of Sting, and the crowd is really hating this one. And I know this was a kind of a rushed segment, but boy, these guys were getting great heat from the crowd.
Yes, and it works because I mean, face paint is the identity of for Sting. Like even when he was wrestling as Surfer Sting in the early '90s, he had that face paint, and with the blonde hair. And the face paint has represented Sting throughout his career, even when he was Surfer Sting, and then Crow Sting, and Wolfpack Sting, even Joker Sting, if you will. And yeah, the crowd really ate that up, and it was good to see because, like, these guys are doing their job as effective heels, the Pinnacle members. And yeah, I mean, it worked on all corners. Like Darby and Sting are like great baby faces. Pinnacle members are like built up to be these dastardly great heels too. So it worked. It worked in all. It worked for everyone in this case. Everyone's over, even Shawn Spears, which is also great to see. And yeah, I mean, they're building towards. So next week, I think I'm not sure if it's on Dynamite or Rampage.
It's on Dynamite, I guess.
Yeah, it's on Dynamite. Yes, FTR versus Sting and Darby Allin. So this should be a great match, and I really want to see Darby. If FTR are winning, I really want to see Darby selling the big rig Cash gives him a code breaker, and then Darby just jumps outside the ring. I really want to see like a crazy bump from Darby Allin, and I really hope FTR wins too. So yeah, it should be a great match altogether.
You said you wanted to see MJ versus Darby Allin.
Yes.
That you could easily build that stuff if you are already having Darby Allin, mingle with the Pinnacle members.
Yes, that's certainly that they'll build towards probably Full Gear is too soon. So I believe they'll put a resolution in March. But I just want to point out, like, if you have heard of this, like, it's a very off topic though. If you've heard of this, that Sting does cameo now. Like, you've heard of it, right? Cameo, the
Yes.
video messages, and apparently there's a deal with Sting in that. So there's like, you get a normal Sting, and you also get like proper Sting, like Sting without face paint and
You get
Sting
Steve.
with face paint. Yeah, you get Steve and you get Sting. So for Steve, you get like for $200, and Sting you get for $400.
Okay.
So with
Wait, Sting is
Tully
charging
Blanchard,
$400.
yes, and Steve is charging $200.
This is Alexa Bliss level of rate, I guess.
Yes, and like with Tully wiping off Sting's face paint, so that's $200 cut from his payday.
Okay, that's great. That's great. But
It's not. It's a pay cut. It's bad.
But moving on,
Yeah.
I think you should get a cameo from Steve, not Sting.
Yeah, probably if we could chip in all together.
We'll have to wait and see, man.
That's a topic for another time.
See, but let's see. This MJF Darby Allin match, if they go for it, it would be great. Imagine the promos between him and Sting. It would destroy.
The feud writes itself. The feud writes itself, doesn't it?
Should be good, man. Should be good. But speaking about good, but before that big reveal, let's talk about Miro and this situation going on with Fuego del Sol. So earlier in the night, we saw a promo from both Sammy Guevara and Fuego del Sol. So Fuego was saying, after he got the big contract from AEW, he's gone out of his way and bought a new car, I believe, or was it the old one? I don't know. He's all dressed up and he has a good, nice looking car. So he really wants to, issue another challenge for Miro, because the first time around he could get the job done. He issues another challenge, but this time he wants to put his new car on the line. So I think we are getting this on a Rampage this week, right? For the TNT Championship, and the car is also on the line. We also hear from Miro later on. Talks about, as of now, who everyone he has faced or redeemed have moved on to better things, but Fuego still, wants to be a little petty, etc., etc. So he says that he's going to, destroy Fuego once again, and it's going to destroy Scar later on. So there you go, man.
And his brain. He's like, I'm going to bash your brain and I'm going to bash your car. That's the word of the Redeemer. Superb stuff.
I don't know, man. This is bad decision from Fuego del Sol's part. I love that guy, but
Yes.
bad decision.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's dumb. Of course, he's like, I got this beautiful car after my AEW contract, and I trade all in for a title match. And then Sami's like, you trade all in for? He's like, yes, but okay, let's do this. He's like, Miro, I'm challenging you for the title, and I'll put my car on the line. So we're getting a lucha de apuestas match where, like, you know, everyone puts something on the line to wager.
That is a thing.
So it's usually, yes, it is a thing. It's called lucha de apuestas in Mexico, and it's like, you know, the wagers match, hair versus mask. He could have put his mask on the line if he was that concerned for the title, but then he'll look like a goof. He's already a goof. But the main idea for this match, as per Dave Meltzer, is they're building towards Miro versus Sammy Guevara. I mean, if you look at this match, it's easy picking that Miro is going to win. But the main meat is towards Miro and Guevara, which I think we did discuss this in the past, where I think after his match with Shawn Spears, and we thought, like, you know, he's due for a title run. And then last week, when he did the Sign Guy Sammy promo, he was just like using placards to communicate with the fans. And then we were like, either he's getting a TNT title shot or he's getting a world title shot. It depends on how many wins he gets. And I think this is a good start for that, him getting an eventual title opportunity versus Miro, no less. And it involves someone who is very close to him. That's Fuego del Sol. So yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see this match. It's going to be like a huge. It's going to be clash of styles, but Miro, for his, like, you know, big physique, as an imposing monster, he is very athletic and very acrobatic and agile as well. So it's going to be a fun match regardless when and how they do it.
But he's not flexible, I guess.
That's a topic for another time, I guess. But like, it has to, but sooner rather than later, they have to involve CJ for, like, in Miro's corner, as long as he's TNT champion.
But as of now, still enjoying this great run of Miro.
Yes, he's been brilliant ever since he's won the TNT championship, like coming into his own as a star.
But speaking about stars, we hear from Bryan Danielson. So Shivani, you know, kind of did an interview with Mr. Danielson here. So Danielson, of course, is talking about Kenny Omega, the Elite, etc., etc. And yeah, from the get-go, he was interrupted by Don Callis and crowd boost. I love it. Kenny is acting all weird, really doing the old school, you could say, a typical Kenny Omega thing whenever he has a belt on his waist. So Don Callis at one point called Bryan Danielson a hippie millionaire.
Yes.
So,
like, if you notice, sorry, before you go any further, like, Kenny Omega is like matching Daniel Bryan fashion for fashion with the white t-shirt.
Yeah, that is like even last week they were wearing the same deal. Like if it's a uniform or something.
Yeah, but AEW was selling this like a white t-shirt for Bryan Danielson. It was a thing, apparently. It was like very carny of them to do.
Was that a real thing or was it a
apparently
fan-made
I'm
thing?
not sure. I hope it was fan made. Like, I'll just send it over to you. But it was weird to see that.
Anyways, man, but yeah, so basically Callis is running down Bryan Danielson, you know, why he decided to come to AEW and his big decision, which was to, you know, which will be, you know, better for the wrestling business. Then he start praising Kenny Omega, and Bryan had heard enough, and he said, "Shut up, Callis." Called him a piece of shit, and the crowd, you know, goes wild. We hear piece of shit chants. And then he said he wants to, you know, speak with Kenny Omega himself, Bryan said, and talks about in this challenge that he kind of mentioned last week. He said that he doesn't want the championship for now. He just want to know who's the better wrestler or whatever you want to call it. So he issues this challenge once again, and he just wants a yes or no. So at one point, even Bryan Danielson, called Kenny Omega if he's kind of been weak, quote unquote weak, ever since he's hanging around with the elite. He's not the same guy like he was years ago, and maybe it could be that he doesn't have the balls to accept Bryan Danielson's challenge. So this prompted Omega to say yes. So we are getting this match. Crowd went really insane for this one because they really want to see this match, bro. They really want to see this match, and the face off came out really great. I thought this segment was way better than whatever they did last week.
Oh, hands down. This segment was great. I mean, there's no denying that whatever Bryan and Kenny are able to do. I think with Kenny's promos, like it's always, it's often criticized because that's why you have Don Callis speaking for him. But I think he's pretty fine in that regard.
His situation is Kenny Omega promos are hit and miss. Sometimes it could come out really goofy. Great. Sometimes his delivery would really pop some.
Yes, I think like his promos really worked for the Japanese crowd because he's like a gaijin. He was like talking shit to them, and it worked that way. But over here, I still feel he's pretty good on the mic. I don't often get the criticism. Sometimes I do, but regardless, like this match, this promo, it was like great from the get go. Before Bryan Danielson.
You need to get used to that, sir. Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon.
I'm still used, the American Dragon. So maybe Drag, I should call him, I think. But whenever Bryan Danielson, like before he could get a word out, I'd just keep it to Bryan. Before he said something and he's like, Don Callis just like, berates him from the get-go. He's like, you sanctimonious son of a bitch. And then he's like, you've signed for AEW. And like, who's the carny piece of shit here? You. Because like you're a hippie millionaire, you signed for AEW because like yada yada, you want to give fans what they want. We don't believe in that. And then Bryan is like, I don't want to talk to you. You're a carny piece of shit. And then he's like, I'm here to talk to Kenny Omega. And then he's like, he instigates Kenny into accepting this match. He's like, I don't care about, like, for now, the title wouldn't really, like, it's not about the title for now. I just want to know who the better wrestler is. And he's like, I want to see the best bout machine. I want to see the god of pro wrestling. And then he just coaxes Omega into accepting this match, and there we are. So this has to main event next week.
This is main eventing Grandslam next week, hands down.
It has to, but I have a bit of dilemma about this match. Like, this match is going to be amazing. Like, it's like years in the making, because the last time these guys faced Bryan, this was before Bryan went to WWE. This was before Omega went to Japan. And like, this match is kind of notable on the internet for this inside joke that they ran. Like, I'm not exactly accurate on this, but they were just like exchanging names, and they were like naming themselves like, Bryan is like, hey, what's your name? And then Omega is like, I'm Kenny Omega. Then Bryan is like, no, I am John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. It is in reference to a nursery rhyme. And then Omega is like, oh no, I'm John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. So there's that history. And there was another instance where it was a reference to The Simpsons, where he called himself like Joey Jojo Jr. Shabadoo. So that's another name that, these guys were trading. So it's a joke that they've had in their matches, which is notable. But from then to like the things that they've accomplished in wrestling, Bryan being the legend that he is on a more mainstream stage, Omega building his career as a legend in his own right, like from his Japan run to now in AEW. So they've come a long way, and that henceforth, like even after years of happening, this match is like a dream match after what they've achieved in their careers. And it's going to be amazing, hands down. Has to main event the biggest show that they're doing currently. But a bit of dilemma is like you can't really see any of these guys losing, can you?
Basically, you are saying they kind of hot shot at this.
They have, but if it's not for the title, then it's okay. Like, you could let it go. And it's at like your biggest show, you need a grand match like this. Fine in that case, but you can't really let any of these guys lose. The best thing you could probably do is either a DQ finish, and like AEW does DQ finishes like very rarely. So in this case, you could probably see that happen, or probably a time limit draw just to see, like, these guys are equally great or equally legendary, you could say.
Yeah. But I could have easily taken this on the upcoming paper.
But again, like, that also kind of interferes with the Hangman story arc.
So does that mean Hangman will be showing up in the coming weeks and we get this Hangman versus Omega at Full Gear?
They have to. I have a feeling like Hangman, like, if the Elite are beating him down and you get this grand return of Hangman Page to close out this Arthur Ashe show that they're doing in front of a huge crowd. So I hope it happens, but again, like, I'm a bit miffed about what the result is going to be like between Omega and Bryan. But again, like, I'm excited for this match.
Yeah, but I hope they don't go the Christian Cage route. You remember how they built up that whole feud and match?
Yes, and Omega had to take a loss. Like, it kind of makes sense because even Christian was undefeated, but it feels like Omega's a bit of luster from Omega was taken away. And, like, the prestige of him being the belt collector, undefeated god of pro wrestling, yada yada. And even Christian was undefeated, so it worked in that sense. But over here, I'm a little confused. But again, I'll just wait, and it's like a wait and watch approach to see what they'll do for this. I'm
Mostly
excited.
Omega takes the L.
It shouldn't happen. Like, in that case, like in Christian's case, he was the Impact World Champion. He was defending that belt. But yeah, let's see what happens.
Omega can easily take L. You know how? Have Brian Cage. Have Brian Danielson. Have Danielson lock Omega in a submission. Omega is desperate. He doesn't want to tap. Have Don Callis throw it towel and call it the finish.
You could probably do that because if you see, like, even during this promo, when Omega says yes, Callis was like beside himself. He was just like, why the fuck? Why the fuck did you say yes?
Okay, so you can do something like
that. But that will also create tension between Omega and Callis.
You could do something like what MJF and Wardlow are doing. Just sprinkle the seeds for whenever that happens down the line. But they are not breaking up the pairing this when Omega is in this order.
Nah, I hope not. Probably, but, like, if you're seeing the Hangman and Omega facing, and if you're expecting the result that everyone is, then you could probably start sowing the seeds from now on.
But this is a pretty big match. This is not a joke. This is going to be a big match.
It's not. It's going to sell out like a lot. Like, it's going to draw a lot of viewers in for sure.
But yeah, we could be expecting a classic next week.
Yeah, and it's a 20. The time limit is for 20 minutes, so you could see some big things happening.
But before we head to the main event, wanna run down the card for all the shows?
Yes. So this week on Rampage tonight, that we have Lucha Bros versus Butcher and Blade for the tag titles. You have Anna Jay versus the Bunny, and you have Miro and Fuego del Sol for the TNT Championship. that's basically like a go home for the Grand Slam shows. So next week for Grand Slam Dynamite, we have Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson. Fuck. Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson. So it's a non-title match. Let me put that clear. There's a live interview of CM Punk 48 hours before his match with Hobbs. We have Cody Rhodes versus Malakai Black. We have MJF versus Brian Pillman Jr. We have Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, versus Ruby Soho for the Women's Championship. And we have FTR versus Sting and Darby Allin in a tag match. And for the Rampage show, we have the Super Click. That's Adam Cole and the Young Bucks versus Christian Cage and Jurassic Express. We have Will Hobbs, Powerhouse Hobbs versus CM Punk. And we have Man of the Year versus Chris Jericho and Jake Hager. So there you
We
go.
have to wait and see how that 2 hours of Rampage will look like.
They surely have to add more matches to sell it.
Maybe. Let's wait and see. But let's quickly get through the main event.
Yes, we shall.
So this was Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston versus 2.0. And I'm not talking about the NXT one. So yeah, this was a short match, little bit story with 2.0, that time where 2.0 and Daniel Garcia, attacked both Moxley and Kingston during when they were doing a random entrance on a random Dynamite. But yeah, man, they also kind of wanted to do the same thing here, where Kingston and Moxley were doing the entrance, and all three guys decided to attack the baby faces, but they saw this coming, and a huge brawl near ringside before the match even began. And it was mostly Kingston and Moxley. 2.0 was on the offense during the commercial breaks, and there was this funny thing that happened when they came back from commercial. So I think they were working on Moxley. So 2.0 was doing this double team, and midway they forgot what to do. Did you notice that spot?
Yeah, I did.
So there you
It's a little
go.
bad.
That is some content for AEW watchers. But yeah, Kingston would finally get a hot tag. He ran wild on both 2.0 members. So even we also saw Daniel Garcia, I think, trying to get involved. He gets taken out. So Kingston and Moxley would eventually get the win via a double team move. That's what do you call that move?
Clothesline, a lariat and a dragon suplex combo. Half and half. Sorry.
And he really dropped that boy on his head.
Yeah, I think it was Jeff Parker who took the pinfall, the guy with the short hair.
So yeah, that was the entire match. Nothing much. Moxley and Kingston get the win. And before we talk about the post-match, anything you want to add on this one?
I mean, this match served its purpose, and it was just to build Mox and Eddie for their match next week. I'm jumping the gun. So it was just to make them look strong, and 2.0 can take a loss. They're pretty much a comedy tag team, and they are just like these affable jobbers. And Daniel Garcia is like the main star of the act that they do. And like there were a few instances where Mox was biting both of these 2.0 members, and then Renee Young put a tweet out, well, my husband stopped biting other people in their matches. So you had there were moments like Mox was selling most of this match and then builds up to the hot tag for Eddie, and like the crowd is eating up whatever Eddie's doing, those bullet chops that he was doing, and then they take both of these guys out and they hit their tag team finisher to pick up the win. So it puts them strong. It was a short match, served its purpose for making Mox and Kingston look strong. And before we get into the post-match thing, so when this match was announced, Daniel Garcia put out a tweet saying like, we will avenge the Suzuki incident. And after this match got over, he's like, my bad, y'all, sorry. And he also joined in on the fun, the dark side themed tweets. He's like, he put a long monologue, and then he's like Daniel Garcia on the Suzuki incident. So they are really getting the Suzuki incident over with the crowd, with the fans. So
When
yeah,
Suzuki returns to Japan, quickly put the belt on him.
has to happen.
Yeah, because he's now the most over guy in the company right now. In that company.
Yep, totally.
But
So
I was
post
checking
match.
the clock here and how much time we have left for the show. We got 4 minutes. Then we hit here, Suzuki's music play out, and then I was happy because yes, this week we have time. Okay, let's play. See what happens. So we finally hear Kazen Inare, but the New Jersey crowd were not great compared to what Chicago did. Chicago was 8 out of 10. I would
It,
give New Jersey a solid 6.
yes, I mean, come on, like Chicago is like smart heaven. At New Jersey was like a pretty wild crowd. I think they were tired by the end of the show. But again, like at least we got Kazaninare, which is great. The
Um,
Suzuki incident has been solved.
let's see how that sounds at Arthur Ashe.
Oh man, it's going to be amazing with like 20 to 25 people, 25,000 people chanting Kazaninare is going to be amazing.
And it's so great for this New Japan guys who were wrestling in a, you could say, not an empty arena, but where you don't hear cheers, only claps. Now they come here in the
Yes.
States, get more work, working Indies, Impact, and AEW, most of them, and you make more money, and you get to hear this great response from the crowd, which is great to see.
And it's also like the style of the crowd too, because the Japanese crowd is like more appreciative of the art of pro wrestling than getting themselves involved. And American crowds, they love getting involved. That's like the American style of wrestling is also based on like fan reactions and interactions with them. So it works in that case. And it's like dipping yourself in a different pond or a different lake and swimming properly. That's how.
Moral of the story: New Japan is better in America compared to New Japan in Japan.
US, Japan. Shit,
You're
I said
missing
that.
all like what's happening this week with you.
I don't know. Probably it's just Friday blues for me.
Yeah, you need more caffeine.
I think I do. Yeah.
But let's quickly finish this segment of we finally hear Kazen Inare. Archer, it kind of tracks Kingston, and
He,
they have a separate brawl. You were saying something?
he yeah, he was waiting for the Kazini Nare to jump on Eddie Kingston. So fair play on that.
So Kingston and Archer brawl, and on the other side, Moxley and Suzuki brawl. They were fighting over the table. Suzuki kind of teased hitting a pile driver on that. Could have looked great, but they decided to move on and brawl through the crowd. Kind of felt little forced, I guess, but that's how the show went off the air.
Yep, that's probably the way you could have ended. But again, I did feel forced, like he was just going through the table and then it doesn't happen. So I mean, it's okay. They're just building it to the match and they were closing out the show.
And I have to
They just
say,
wanted
with
to.
go on.
They just wanted to get their shit in.
At least we finally found the cure for the Suzuki incident. Give us time.
Yes. Fair play.
I want to say that this Forbidden Door thing, it's not AEW, this whole partnership thing. You could really see it in a storyline, because I think John Moxley is the Forbidden Door, I guess.
Yeah, people from like across companies are trying to fight him, and it's for Moxley. It's just New Japan that is the Forbidden Door. He's not interacted with anyone from Impact, if you want to count Gallows and Anderson. But yeah, John Moxley is the Forbidden Door in a way. Because he's
And
getting in all these New Japan guys, he's fighting them, and then he's also going to New Japan to fight.
And when one of the top guys shows up and he takes a L on Dynamite or any other AEW show, then you could see something else storyline wise with Moxley happening.
Yes, but the current plan is for Mox versus Tanahashi at any of the New Japan shows.
We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that was Dynamite, and we are really excited for the Arthur Ashe Grand Slam next week.
Yes, 4 hours of AEW TV.
Should be good, man.
TV.
Should be good. But before we leave, where can these guys find you?
So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at rid_aman. And if you're watching this in video form, you can see it somewhere in the left or right corner.
And you can find Slamhub Wrestling on Twitter at SlamHubW, Instagram at SlamHub Wrestling, and you can catch this review on the audio platforms, Anchor, Spotify. So this was the Dynamite review, and we'll see you guys next time.
Adios.